Thank you very much, Doug. I am honored to be here, to be inducted into the Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame. It's a great thrill to be going in with this class of inductees. Just going through the museum here, and I've read all the articles that have been written about all the inductees prior to, but seeing the displays really is a special group, and looking forward to getting to know them even better this weekend. I'm also this is a very special recognition to be going into the same Hall of Fame that my father was inducted into back in 1988. I was here that night. This was not here, as Doug and I were talked about, so well, what an impressive display. But I remember being here in Natchitoches that night. Terry Bradshaw was inducted. I think Elvin Hayes, if I recall, was inducted that same night. So to be one of three father-son combinations to be in the Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame, I can't tell you what a thrill that is. You're only from one state. I've always been proud to be from Louisiana, always proud to be a New Orleans kid. Always took that with me everywhere I've been in my football journey, up at school at Tennessee, all the years in Indianapolis and in Denver. Always been proud to be from Louisiana. Always had a great bond with the other Louisiana players that I competed against in college, in pro ball. I know I had two old teammates get inducted last year, Brandon Stokely and Reggie Wayne, and I was proud of them, and I know how thrilled they were. I'm proud of Ed Reed from Destrehan, Louisiana, being inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame this year. So just, I know I keep repeating that word, but I'm especially honored and very proud to be here. Glad to take some questions.
First question would be Newman High School, a special place to be at that point in time. I mean, you weren't even the best athlete at Newman High School, apparently, with Randy Livingston there. But I know you really feel a great bond for your high school football coach, Coach Reginelli.
I sure do, yeah. Coach Reginelli, he can't be here this weekend due to some health reasons. Yeah, I cherish my time playing for Coach Reginelli at Newman. I went to Newman kindergarten through 12th grade. I was a 13-year guy and played football with friends that had gone to school with me all those years. And special 4 years playing high school football there. Still one of my most memorable seasons was 1991 football season when my brother Cooper was the wide receiver that year, and there's a good picture of a preseason magazine from the Times-Picayune, a good article by Bill Bumgardner kind of talking about Cooper and me playing together that year. And I can't remember the actual statistics, but it seems like I completed like 120 passes that year. I threw 90 of them to my brother. And so the other receivers weren't too crazy about that, but he was my brother. He was our best player without a doubt. And I was smart enough to figure out good things happen when I threw my brother the ball. But that was a special year, you know, growing up around Saints practices and going to Saints games. Cooper and I used to go down on the Superdome turf when my dad was getting dressed, and we'd play one-on-one 100-yard football out there on the dome turf, and got to go to Saints practices and played a lot of backyard and pick up football. And we always kind of had our own hand signals that we talked about, and never really got to put them to use until that one season of playing high school football. And so I have great memories. Coach Reginelli, he couldn't have been more of a supportive coach. Always had my back. Always, you know, so many players loved him. He was at the school for 46 years, but he retired after my senior year. I remember one time I had a tough night, seems like over in Fisher somewhere, and you know, I was like 8 for 33 with maybe 2 or 3 interceptions, and he told somebody in the media, he said, yeah, but we had 22 drop passes last night. I mean, that's the kind of guy you want to play for right there now. That's a guy that's going to have your back. So, since I was made aware of this induction, I've spent great time reflecting on my high school career, coaches, the teammates, and the support of a lot of my school friends. So it's been fun to go down memory lane.
Hi, Shakira Martin, News 15 out of Lafayette. When you were at Newman, you took your school to 3 playoffs, and then your freshman year at Tennessee, you had some rough patches trying to figure things out, but you are here being inducted. Can you kind of explain to us what you're feeling, as well as what would you tell the young version of you today?
Well, I think experience is your best teacher, so I don't think there's too much that you can tell a young version of you that to prepare him, because he or she has to go through some of those tough times and go through some bumps and bruises to kind of learn. And I think you learn from the good experiences, you learn from the bad experiences. So I played at Newman as a AA school. Certainly wasn't the 5A classification, but it was still good competition, and I felt I wasn't sure if I was ready to play as a freshman at Tennessee, and really wasn't expecting to play, but due to some injuries, I ended up, starting 8 games that year, and I think we won 7 of them. So I was appreciative having played at Newman and played against some good competition, throughout the regular season and the playoffs, and I was fortunate. I got to work out with some. I was looking at the Hall of Fame display of Aeneas Williams when I was a junior and senior in the summers. A lot of the NFL players would work out over at Tulane, and this is kind of when the off-season rules were different. But Aeneas Williams was kind of the leader over there, and it was Aeneas Williams and Maurice Hurst and Clarence Verdun, all these NFL defensive backs and wide receivers, and they didn't have a quarterback. And so I kind of found out about it. I got to go and work out with those guys. I was throwing to NFL receivers being covered by NFL defensive backs. And one of my greatest compliments was one of the Saints quarterbacks, I'm not going to mention his name, kind of heard about the workouts, and he started showing up to throw with them, and Aeneas said, no, we want Peyton to keep throwing. So that was a good compliment.
Peyton, back to your early years and growing up as Archie's son, what was that like for you early on as a player, knowing that, and then bringing it to now with your nephew getting ready to enter high school and a third-generation Manning who's going to be playing quarterback? What kind of advice have you and will you give him before he finally takes the field?
Yeah, I'm going to let him be an 8th grader going into his freshman year, and kind of just let him do that. And I'm not. I think he needs to live and breathe a little bit, and not have too much pressure, too much expectations on him. My dad was a great father. He's my favorite quarterback, favorite football player, hero, role model, dad, all wrapped into one. My dad was very present in our lives. When he retired from football, 1984, I was 8 years old. I know he said no to a lot of things that would have taken him away from some of our sporting events. Doug mentioned that the night he went into the Hall of Fame, Eli had a baseball tournament the next day, and we had to get back for that. And that's kind of where his priorities were. He certainly did a lot of different things and different businesses, charity initiatives, but he wanted to have time to come to those sporting events. Baseball games, certainly. I think my dad missed one high school football game my entire career. Because, as a matter of fact, I think it was when he and Cooper were actually at the Mayo Clinic when Cooper was going through his health neck injuries. That was the only game he missed. So they were there. I always knew when my parents were at our games. It made me feel good they were there. Never really coached us, to tell you the truth, in a real game. But my dad's rule was when we wanted his help, we had to go to him and ask for help. We said, Dad, we're going to go hit ground balls. We're going to go shoot hoops. We're going to go throw passes. Will you come with us? And he was glad to come because we were coming to him and ask for it. I think that's a healthy approach. I think you got to be careful pushing and pushing and pushing, and all of a sudden the kid says, this isn't fun anymore. So I appreciated his approach. I think it's why Cooper and Eli and I always had a real passion for sports and had a real love for the game. I think it was because of the way my parents sort of treated our youth sports. And so very, very grateful for my family's support, and my mom and dad looking forward to being here tomorrow night as well.
Peyton, with all that you've accomplished in your career, where does this moment rank on your all-time list?
Yeah, I don't have a ranking by any means. It's certainly nice to receive individual honors, but I think when you receive an individual honor, you accept the honor on behalf of so many people that have been a part of your football journey. And I know there's lots of different criteria to being inducted into the Louisiana Hall of Fame. My dad's from Mississippi because he played in New Orleans. That's why he's here, but I'm from Louisiana, and the people that have been a part of my football journey from high school, I mentioned Coach Reginelli, to my teammates, to Philip Fulmer and David Cutcliffe at the University of Tennessee, Jim Mora and Tony Dungy and Jim Caldwell, John Fox, Gary Kubiak, all the NFL coaches. And it's more than just coaches. There's so many teammates in there. I'm talking equipment managers. I'm talking about video directors, people behind the scenes and all these respective teams that get zero credit, that never get recognized on TV, but are just as important as the star running back to a team's success. And I'm grateful for all of those support staff members' support over the years, and relationships and friendships as well. So I'm honored, and like I told Doug earlier, it's, you know, when you're playing college ball or pro ball, you don't really look back very much. You just you kind of stay in the present and focus on what you're doing. But since I have stopped playing, and especially with this honor, and actually humbled to be going into the Tennessee Sports Hall of Fame just next weekend. So 2 consecutive weekends where I've really had a chance to reflect on my time in Louisiana and my Tennessee time as well, and it's been a lot of fun.
Payne, to kind of elaborate and bounce back to your previous question, what exactly, you know, this is a major milestone for you, your father, and your family. What exactly does this legacy mean for you?
Well, like I said, you know, my dad, I think he would tell you he is as surprised as anyone to have had sons play professional football. It was not a plan. It was never something that he probably thought would ever happen. And maybe because it wasn't a plan, maybe that's why it occurred, because he wasn't pushing us and wasn't pressuring us. He encouraged us to play sports, and because of the valuable lessons that sports teaches, taking coaching, overcoming adversity, working with all different types of teammates and personalities. So, but he never pushed us, and but to be able to be good enough in high school to go and play college ball at Tennessee, you know, I hear players today talking about, I always knew I was going to make it to college or make it to the professional level. That wasn't the case for me. I got recruited as a junior. I remember I got a couple handwritten letters from some big-time coaches, and I said, well, maybe I might have a chance to go play college. And it wasn't until I was a junior in college when I had a couple of scouts that were at practice saying, hey, are you thinking about coming out early? And I said, well, maybe I have a chance to go play pro ball. I was pretty humble and never assumed anything, but I wanted to work hard. I wanted to be the best junior varsity quarterback as a freshman, high school quarterback, college player, pro player. But to have had be able to play in the NFL where my dad played in, and play in the same conference as my dad and Eli, and for Eli and I to kind of you know, have the same job for so many years and be able to share ideas and talk about game plans against different opponents. I'm thankful every day for that opportunity to have that career.
Maybe some of the important advice that he gave you? Is there a couple of things that he told you along the way that kind of sticks with you in terms of, you know, things that ultimately played a key role in where you are?
Yeah, my dad used to give me a lot of quotes growing up as a kid from a lot of different people, but namely sports figures. And one that sticks out is the quote, I was probably about 14 years old. There's a quote from the great coach for the Pittsburgh Steelers, Chuck Noll, once said, pressure is something that you feel only when you don't know what you're doing. And that just hit me kind of square in the eyes. To school, sports, applies to life and business, that I kind of wanted to know what I was doing. I wanted to work hard to prepare for whatever it is that I was about to get into, and that always just stuck with me. I couldn't out throw anybody. I wasn't gonna be able to throw it, 80 yards down the field. And anybody who's seen me play certainly knows I couldn't outrun anybody. Coach Reg used to say I couldn't run out of sight in a week. That was nice. But I thought I could out-prepare anybody, and that kind of gave me confidence when I was under center, which nobody is under center anymore, but I actually used to take a snap under center in high school and in college and in pro ball.
Peyton, there's a gentleman in here who unsuccessfully recruited you back in the day. He's gotten a lot of good recruits since then. His name is Les Miles. He's right there with his daughter.
Yeah.
He was trying to get you to come be a Wolverine. You remember those days?
I do remember that. Coach, congratulations. Honored to be inducted with you. Yeah, I remember Coach Miles. My dad came with me on that visit. I know he and Coach got to visit about that earlier this year, and talking about the Hall of Fame. So, I enjoyed the recruiting process. And, I know it's different now. I know a lot of times, kids commit so early, and the schools don't want you to go and visit other schools after you committed. But the people that I got to meet along my recruiting journey at Michigan, got to meet Lou Holtz at Notre Dame, Bobby Bowden at Florida State, Steve Spurrier at Florida, Billy Brewer at Ole Miss, who was Matt Dunnigan's coach at Louisiana Tech. These are people that I've crossed paths with through the years, and you always kind of go back to that moment. And my mom somewhere, has all of my recruiting letters and saved from all those schools. And so I really enjoyed that process, and it helped me kind of try to make a decision. And the truth is, I wanted to go to all those schools. I wanted to go to Michigan. I really liked what they were doing on offense. Cam Cameron was the offensive coordinator. They had Elvis Gerbeck, Todd Collins. If you were growing up around that time, Florida was throwing the ball better than everybody. Florida State was kicking butt. Ole Miss was my dad's school, and really pretty much the only school I ever thought existed until I was about 16 years old. But you can only pick one place to go. And I had a great visit to Knoxville, and like I said, Coach Fulmer and Coach Cutcliffe and I kind of hit it off. And I think when you make a decision, everybody kind of wants to judge right away whether it's the right decision or wrong decision. I think it's kind of up to you to make it the right decision. So I picked Tennessee, never looked back, and I had a great 4 years there.
I'll ask one. What is the football future for Peyton Manning?
I've kind of found different ways to stay involved with football. I guess I don't really have a one-word job description like a coach or a executive or a broadcaster. But I was telling Doug, I came in from Chicago today. I'm doing something for the NFL right now. NFL turns 100 this year, and kind of seeing this special Hall of Fame and the history of sports in Louisiana. I've learned so much about the history of the NFL on this journey, and it's going to kind of something for ESPN we're doing. But I was in Chicago yesterday talking to George Halas's daughter, Virginia McCaskey, about her father and one of the founding fathers of the game. I was with Mike Ditka talking about playing for George Halas and coaching for George Halas. And so I've stayed involved with it. I've stayed close to it. At the same time, I have protected some free time for the first time in 25 years to do some different things. And I will be at my son's flag football game on Sunday, kind of like my dad was at Eli's baseball game almost 30-something years ago. So that's important to me. But I still feel busy and stimulated, but just finding the ways to do some different things. I think if I ever do take a football job, I think you'll probably hear about it, and the word would probably know. But I was telling Doug, I couldn't go. I was on spring break with our family, but I had my 25-year high school reunion. Newman earlier in March, and I was planning on going all along and just couldn't make it work with spring break. But anyway, they asked you to send a little email bio about what you've been up to for the past 25 years. And I was reading all of my classmates' kind of bios, and I'm talking about some impressive resumes, people that have gone on to do some great things. And it seems like I was reading all of them. A lot of them just kept using the word field. You know, I'm in the medical field, I'm in the law field, the investment field, and I was kind of thinking, what field have I been in, and what field am I in now? And I really spent a lot of time thinking about it. I finally said, you know, after graduating from college, I spent a lengthy career in the physical education field. It just sounded good, right? And said, now I'm in the insurance field, and I've recently joined a band with Brad Paisley. So that was my bio. So that's what I've been up to.
So about that band, you're kind of into the music scene a little bit, huh?
Well, when you go to Tennessee, you can't help but have an affection for country music, and certainly gotten to know a lot of those guys. And you know, I have fun doing those spots. Obviously, playing pro football has allowed me some opportunities, but you know, the chance for a football player to take their helmet off and to kind of show that you can laugh at yourself, which I'm not afraid to do, make fun of yourself. I realize football's provided me the opportunity, but I've enjoyed those interactions with the fans. And look, the fans are what the game is all about. And whether they're talking to you about a game, commercial, something along the way, that I've enjoyed those interactions, and that's always been a fun part of it.
If football hasn't worked out, what would you do?
Yeah, that's hard to say. I've never been a huge what-if guy, and don't really know how to answer those questions. You know, my brother Cooper went to Ole Miss and was on scholarship, and would have had a heck of a college career, and you know, who knows about the NFL. Had a neck injury, had to stop playing. That really woke me up. I was a junior at the time, and you know, he wrote me a letter saying, you know, I can't play football anymore. I'm going to live my dream of playing football through you. And I always carried that with me from that point on all throughout my career, that it could end at any time. Do not take it for granted. A practice, a game, and I had this unbelievable string of health for so many years. And so when I had my neck problems in 2011, I had a really good attitude about it. And because of the way my brother approached his injury, he had a good attitude about it. You know, I know he was disappointed, but he never moped and pouted about it. And you know, Cooper, very successful in business, got a great family, went on to become a social legend at Ole Miss, if that makes sense to anybody. So I've been proud of him, but like I said, I learned a lot from him in kind of approaching football every day, and I've been just so lucky to be able to have played the game for so long, and it's still a part of my life. I go to the Broncos games, I go back to Colts games. I've seen Eli play 3 times in person each year, the past 3 years since I've been retired. Prior to that, I've only seen Eli play on TV or in a Super Bowl live, and so it's been fun to be able to watch him play. I'm extremely proud of him and how he's handled himself in his career. It's hard to believe he's played that long, my little brother, and I've been very proud of him. So I'm still a part of it. You know, I'm a fan. That's what I am. I guess you could say an ambassador too, but I enjoy being a fan. And but I like going to. I've been invited by coaches to some practices to talk to the team and talk to the quarterbacks. I enjoy that. I enjoy paying it forward any way I can.
Well, apparently you have the DirecTV Sunday ticket.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Doug's on a roll today, boys. He's yeah.
So,
Can I? Hi, Peyton.
Can't see.
I'm
Is it right here?
I'm right here,
Okay.
all the way from New York. So
Okay.
I grew up a sports fan. It was important in my household. My dad brought sports in with my family to help us with education. But going back to when you played as a quarterback, and you said you were better prepared than other quarterbacks. If you could steal something from another quarterback, what would you steal? What attribute would you love to have?
I'd like my dad to have given me some of his speed. I could skip a generation, I think. I love quarterbacks. You know, I think you could go through a whole list of I mean, you could start pretty good with this Hall of Fame right here. You could take Burt Jones's arm, and you would be in good shape. You could take, you know, Bradshaw's toughness and size, and my dad's speed, Doug Williams' delivery. I know I'm leaving, there's a long list out. Shaq Harris's height, and I don't, you know, you can keep going on and on. I really enjoyed walking through this display, and proud to be a member of the Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame as a football player, and because of all the great football people that are involved in this room.
Among all of his honors, one that as a sports-based director, I'm proud to point out, he was the Academic All-American of the Year at Tennessee. So he did take that very, very seriously. At this point in time, I want to invite our Lieutenant Governor, Billy Nungesser, to join up front. And Coach Miles, if you'd join up front. Do we have any other, Dave Nitz, I know you're here, any other 2019 inductees here in the room with us? Please join us up front, and we'll snap a picture real quick. And then what we'll do, from a television perspective, we have some folks that have one-on-one live slots, and we will get Peyton around to you over the next little bit. And everybody else, we just appreciate you mingling around and allowing us to take care of the media obligations.